Sports with Sean Caravilles.
Lewis Hamilton won a dramatic Singapore Grand Prix in a race that was disastrous for Ferrari. Here's BBC 5 Live.
5 Live Formula One.
Round 14 of the Formula One World Championship of 2017 is done. The Singapore race is flung, as some would say, and Lewis Hamilton has won. Alongside me, Jenny Gow, seemingly a poet, it is Jack Nicholls and Tom Clarkson. And Jack, Hamilton prayed for a miracle. It came.
And it came when the heavens opened, 20 minutes or so before the start of the race. The race started in wet conditions. That added to everybody getting a good start or a bad start. Vettel got a bad start off pole position. Raikkonen and Verstappen behind got a better start. All three of them tried to take the lead into turn one. They all crashed into each other, wiped out Fernando Alonso as well. That handed Lewis Hamilton the lead, and from there on he just had to see it home, which was easier said than done considering the relative pace of the Red Bulls, but he managed to finish ahead of Daniel Ricciardo in second place. Third place for his Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas, fourth for Carlos Sainz, fifth for Sergio Perez, and sixth for Jolyon Palmer. And Tom, from yesterday and Lewis Hamilton's fifth place in qualifying to the statement about the miracle, to the grid and the rain coming down, I mean, what a roller coaster that must have been for Hamilton.
It was a roller coaster, and one of the most impressive things about Hamilton this weekend is his level-headedness throughout it all. He wasn't throwing the toys out after qualifying. They kind of expected to struggle at this Grand Prix, and thank goodness they did, because if he'd qualified higher up than fifth, he might well have got caught up in that melee at the first corner. But very level-headed, even during the race when he was under pressure. A couple of questions thrown to his team about strategy, but he had it all under control from start to finish, or after the first 10 seconds from start to finish.
Yes, we should talk more about the big accident at the beginning of the race and the whys and wherefores of it. But before we do that, let's hear from our race winner and the leader of the championship by 28 points, Lewis Hamilton.
I know, it's crazy, right? It was true. I needed a miracle today. And honestly, I think the rain was the initial miracle. Because when that happened, I was like, it's on. I'm dead certain that we can do very, very good job in terms of damage limitation, but potentially even win.
Even if the Ferraris had stayed on this racetrack, you thought you had it?
I was convinced in my mind that I was gonna overtake everyone, and because they're the nice conditions, and also it was a brand new. No one had ever driven in the rain there, so I felt that out of all of us, if there's any part of my ability going to shine, it's going to be today in the first steps on a new wet surface. But anyways, a bunch of them went disappearing, which I of course I can't complain. Obviously, I was very fortunate. I think I did well to stay out of it all. And then I had the Red Bull, which was generally been a quicker car all weekend, and he had nothing on me. Once the conditions were in that stage, I had so much pace. So,
is this a decisive moment in this 2017 championship?
I think time will tell, but I definitely think it's a very, very positive day. We came here this weekend. I had no idea that would be such a positive outcome. So I just really have to count my blessings and make sure that I apply myself well this next week, so that I come and hit hard in the next two races. Game on.
Game on indeed. Well done, Lewis. Great job.
So, Tom, that was Lewis Hamilton talking to you, and we go into this next sort of 6 races which come thick and fast, don't they, towards the end of the championship. And my word, those 28 points in the bag ahead of Vettel are going to be mightily important.
The boy has a buffer now, doesn't he? Those 28 points, he can almost play the percentage game, but I don't think he's going to need to, because these next couple of racetracks, Malaysia and Suzuka, I think are really going to lend themselves to the performance characteristics of that Mercedes. So I think Hamilton will be blisteringly quick, and it's very, very difficult from here on in to see how Seb Vettel can close that gap to Hamilton in the World Championship.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Coming into this weekend, you would have put money on Vettel leading the championship once we finished in Singapore, because not only was he on pole position, the Red Bulls were in there as well. There was a chance Vettel, if they'd have started where they finished today, Vettel would have led the championship by 12 points. But that start line crash, and suddenly he is trailing by 28 points. That's how big a swing it was. It reminds me of Malaysia last year, where Hamilton was leading the race, looking to extend his championship lead, then in one instant, his engine blows up and he loses the lead to Rosberg, and then it's uphill from there. That's how pivotal I think this weekend will be. But of course, the great thing is we don't know if we're going to have any more pivotal weekends in the championship.
Tom, are you thinking back to Malaysia last year and thinking, oh, crikey, you know, what could come next in the twists and turns of 2017?
Well, reliability could be a serious factor. Of course it could, because they've got just the 4 power units to do the whole season with this year. But I think there's a fundamental difference between what happened last year and what we saw happening here in Singapore, and that it was a mechanical problem that stopped Hamilton there. Whereas I firmly believe that Vettel was responsible for that first corner accident. It is his fault. He has got to hang his head in shame, because not only has he harmed his own prospects in the Drivers' Championships, but it's now more than 100-point difference in the Constructors' Championship between Mercedes and Ferrari. So it looks to me as if Mercedes are locked on in that Constructors' battle as well.
Jack, for anybody who did not see the first turn incident and start line incident, you could say, of Vettel, of Raikkonen, of Verstappen, of Alonso, please paint the picture as well as Picasso would for us.
As well as Picasso would. Well, then it's not going to look very good, is it? But the cars look like...
Be worth a fortune, though.
Yeah, exactly. The cars look like Picassos, didn't they, at the end, with all the little bits and pieces out of position. But so Vettel was on pole, didn't get a good start, moved over to try and cover off Verstappen, who got a better start. But Kimi Raikkonen, who started directly behind Max Verstappen, got the best start of all and tried to slide up the inside of Max Verstappen. And so Vettel came across to try and cover off Verstappen without knowing that Raikkonen was there, and then it was like a pincer movement on the Red Bull. The two Ferraris either side, like the two flippers at the bottom of a ping pong table, or two claws going in on one another, and that just all pinged them into a massive melee. Fernando Alonso tried to go around the outside, he got wiped out. And whilst I don't think it was... Okay,
Jack, just while you're thinking about that,
okay.
Can I interrupt you very briefly what you're going to say next? Because I'm joined by a man with a very big smile on his face. Excuse me, gentlemen, if I could just grab a word. Toto Wolff, team principal of Mercedes, a happy man this evening.
Very happy and very lucky.
We've just been discussing that first corner incident. I mean, the rain, you must have done a really good rain dance last night, because it all triggered from that, didn't it?
Yes, we've deployed all rain gods that we could find and prayed. But joking aside, we were benefiting from the incident in lap 1 when they wiped each other out. An unfortunate incident. I can relate to how the Ferraris feel, because I've been in the situation. But then when we were in the lead, it was just about maintaining your concentration and driving it to the end.
How good was Lewis Hamilton today? How good was that victory?
Another great drive from him, and it's what I always say, on a difficult day you want to have Lewis in the car.
Now, Ferrari needed to score here, didn't they? This track, the characteristics of this track lent themselves to the Ferrari, yet you've come out on top. What does this mean to the World Championship?
It's too early to talk about the championship, because we have quite a solid gap, but you can see how quickly it goes. You're in the lead, you're being wiped out, you score 0 points, and your main opponent scores 25. And here we go. So we just need to stay calm and tackle each race at a time and score the maximum of points.
Do you think Lewis can play the percentage game now in each Grand Prix?
No, and this is not how he works. He's going to continue to go flat out, score points. Of course, keep in the back of his mind the championship. But this is how he functions.
Superb result for the team. Well done, Toto. Great result. Very happy man there.
Unsurprisingly happy Toto Wolff. Great stuff to get him on, though, and you can understand why they're trying to put a lid on it and just temper their excitement. But Jack, they will probably go somewhere and have a little dance tonight, won't they? Because they'll just be delighted.
Well, I think that's the thing. They're trying to put a lid on it on the outside, because inside they know deep in their souls that was a big weekend. Just to finish my point that I've been thinking about while Toto was talking, I don't think it was Sebastian Vettel's fault, that crash, in terms of being able to apportion blame, give him a 5-place grid penalty points or whatever. I don't think you can blame him. I think it was a racing incident, because he moved across to cover off Verstappen. He didn't know Raikkonen was there. These things happen. But where I think what you can say is he shouldn't have done it for himself. For his own championship challenge, it was a foolish thing to do, and he can take the blame for that. and he takes the blame for eliminating himself from the race. And we've seen him do it before. I think back to Spa last year, where he tried to just come in and cut back across to the apex at La Source without considering the cars that were there. Yes, you can't see them, but you just have to give it a little bit of leeway for me in that first corner. So that's why I don't think he's to blame. I don't think he'll be punished, but he's to blame for his own retirement.
Jack, you're in perfect agreement with NASCAR legend Jeff Gordon, who says, a guy like Vettel in such control, I think he didn't need to be that aggressive. And Christian Horner says of the Ferrari incident, they need their eyes testing, which is totally a Christian Horner team principal of Red Bull statement to make. But Tom, when it comes to this crash, I mean, what was the paddock? What did the drivers? I mean, what was it like? Because you're there on the ground, and you get to read between the lines, don't you? When it's Verstappen, when it's Vettel, what they say is sometimes just a tiny bit of it.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with what Jack has said, in that I think Vettel didn't make a bad start. If you look where he was relative to Verstappen, the other guy on the front row, they both got away pretty evenly. And, of course, Kimi is in the same car as Vettel, so if he thought he'd made a good start, he wouldn't have expected Raikkonen to have made a better one. So therefore, I think had Raikkonen not be there, Verstappen would have got out of his way and everything would have been okay. So it's difficult to apportion blame. It was a racing incident, but sometimes Vettel is just too forceful and
Turkey.
It's sort of Schumacher-esque in a funny kind of way. We saw Schumacher just do some marginal moves. You couldn't really criticise him, but you thought it's a bit heavy-handed, a bit clumsy sometimes with Michael, and I think that's what we saw with Vettel today.
Turkey, Jack.
Turkey. That sounds a bit
random. Just explain why you just shouted Turkey in the middle of the sentence?
Well,
please.
You look back to Turkey in 2011, I think it was, where he and Mark Webber, the two Red Bull teammates, came together because Vettel moved across sort of unnecessarily. That's an example. And like I say, there was one at La Source. I'm pretty sure Malaysia last year was a similar thing, where just give it a bit more margin. And some people are saying Max Verstappen should have backed off and got out of it, but that's not how it works.
That's not racing.
Exactly, and he was totally legitimate to be there, Max Verstappen. Kimi Raikkonen was totally legitimate to be there. So, yeah, I think, as I say, not a punishment situation for Vettel. It's punishment enough, the fact that his championship may have just slipped through his fingers. But we've still got a long way to go. Please tune in for the rest of the year.
Yeah, there's bound to be drama afoot at every turn, as they say. So, we've spoken about the incident. We've heard from Lewis Hamilton. We've heard from Toto Wolff as well. We'll hear from Valtteri Bottas potentially before the end of the show. But let's hear from the man who loves a good shoey, but beaten fair and square today, Daniel Ricciardo.
Well, Daniel, I've just been speaking to Lewis Hamilton. Supremely happy. What have you got to do to win the Singapore Grand Prix, for goodness sake?
I don't know. I mean, today, yeah, getting Lewis to start would have helped me. But otherwise, yeah, just we'll keep persisting. I'm not too disappointed. Of course, I came here to win, and I really wanted to win. But look, doesn't always happen. But yeah, I think with the setup, we can do things better, so I don't think we'll leave here scratching our heads. I think I know what we can do, but I guess the start in the end allowed Lewis to jump me.
But were you surprised by Lewis's pace once the slick tyres came on and the track dried out?
I was, but at the same time I knew we didn't have the same, let's say, car as we had on Friday, so I knew we weren't, let's say, getting the most out of our package, so I kind of thought, all right, maybe Lewis will be able to respond to our challenge. So in the end, not too surprised, but yeah, I kind of wish we had our Friday pace.
So do I for you. Look, you had a grandstand seat of what happened at turn one. What from do we apportion blame? Was it a racing accident? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I wouldn't point the finger at anyone, not because I don't want to, but I don't think the incident was blatantly anyone's fault. From what I saw, it kind of just looked like Seb closed to cover, Max had a decent start, Kimi had a really good one, and they all just kind of ran out of track, but didn't look like anything was intentional, or that's just kind of the way it funneled. So yeah, not really sure who's pointing the finger at who. I don't know if they're blaming anyone, but it looked like just one of those things. It started raining, everyone's kind of tense, and I guess these things can happen.
Great job today, though. Well done. Cheers now.
So that's Daniel Ricciardo speaking to Tom Clarkson, Jack Nicholls alongside. Now, Jack, when it comes to the Red Bull, we were expecting more from them. This was their opportunity of the year. Is that now gone? Do we wave goodbye to Red Bull on the podium or even on the winning step?
Yeah, I think probably so. This was their big chance to take a victory. From now on, it'll be a sort of unusual win or some sort of crazy conditions that'll see them take victory. Interesting to hear Daniel Ricciardo saying we didn't have the car we had on Friday, that they were disappointed with how they performed in qualifying yesterday, and even today not really pleased with the performance. So obviously a massive frustration for Daniel Ricciardo, because he feels like he could have won this Grand Prix had they had the car that they had on Friday. And yeah, it's a shame for him. That's the last Red Bull real shot of winning gone, but their focus now is to next year.
More frustrating you feel for Max Verstappen once again not finishing. That's a 50% strike rate this year of actually not getting across the finishing line. Let's hear from Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas on a third place finish.
Valtteri, 6th to 3rd on a track that wasn't meant to suit Mercedes. I guess when you ripped open your curtains this morning, you would have taken that.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely for us, it was nearly perfect result. It was always going to be tricky. We knew, but we got lucky with the Ferraris shunting in the beginning, and actually the pace what we had today was better than we expected. Maybe the cooler temps helped us. I don't know, but yeah, very very good result for us for the championship, and yeah, it's good to move on from here.
What about the one lap pace of the car? Because in qualifying yesterday, it looked particularly difficult for you.
It was difficult. I think less so for Lewis, but still we're not at the level of Ferrari or Red Bull. It's been in the history also difficult circuit for Mercedes, so definitely we do have plenty of work to do in the circuits like this, so yeah, we need to learn from this weekend, and it's been also a difficult weekend for me, so a lot of things I need to try and learn from this weekend, but because overall from the weekend of my performance I was not happy.
Well, going forward I'm sure you'll sort it out. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Tom, Mercedes now 102 points ahead of Ferrari. A really important weekend for them as well as just Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, let's not forget that the prize money in Formula One is dictated by the finishing positions in the Constructors' Championship. So I'm afraid I think it's a foregone conclusion now that Mercedes will win that Constructors' Championship. So more money to them. But, it's not game over yet in this World Championship. Vettel will be trying to convince himself that he can still do it. But I do think it's ominous that even on a tight and twisty track like this, Mercedes can pull out the performance. I thought it was significant that Bottas there saying that the cooler temperatures will have helped them in the Grand Prix. And of course, if your car is a little bit hard on tyres, you don't want to overheat them, so cooler track temperatures is going to help that. So you need a bit of luck to win a World Championship, and they are the ones getting the luck.
OK, I'm going to play a quick game with you. 6 rounds of this championship remaining. Jack, you go first, and then Tom. I will run through the races to go. I want you to say
Turkey.
If it's don't say Turkey. I mean, you can say Turkey, but it will be irrelevant to the game. I want you to either say Ferrari or Mercedes, depending on which do you think suits the track more.
Understood.
OK, rules explained. We will start. Remember, Jack then Tom, Malaysia.
Can we explain? Or is it just one word you want from us?
No, you're just one word.
Okay.
Literally
sorry.
just one
But not
word.
Turkey.
You can't just try and, explain away. I just want one word from both of you. Jack starts. Malaysia.
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Japan.
Mercedes.
Mercedes.
USA.
Ferrari.
Wow, okay.
Mercedes.
Mexico.
Mercedes.
Mercedes.
Brazil.
Ferrari.
Mercedes.
Abu Dhabi.
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Okay.
And that could be key.
What were the results? I'm all
Yeah, exactly. And the key is, interestingly, in all of that, is if it ebbs and flows throughout the year, who is going to have the best car in Abu Dhabi? If you arrive in Abu Dhabi tied on points, That's what it could all come down to.
That was kind of the point.
Oh, that was the point of the game.
Okay. To see where it would end up and where we would sling ourselves to in Abu Dhabi, and that's what you guys reckon. So we will see if we were right or wrong.
We do our predictions every week, but then never actually see whether any of us are right. So I don't know why we're going to do the same with these predictions now.
Okay, you've made a point. Predictions-wise, who did you go for?
I went for Daniel Ricciardo.
Who did I go for?
Max Verstappen. Who did Tom go for?
Vettel.
Okay, so there we go.
There we go. That is that.
Sums it up, really, doesn't it?
Right, a quick word on the performances of Sainz, Palmer and Van Dorn, all getting their best F1 finishes. Sainz 4th, Palmer 6th, Van Dorn 7th.
Well, Sainz proving he's very, very, very good.
Someone should give him a factory drive.
Exactly, so he's going to be a factory Renault driver next year, which is tremendous, on loan from Red Bull, so it's going to be good to see him there. Proved how good he is. His teammate Danica Viet stuffed it in the wall. We'll see what happens there with his career. Jolyon Palmer, very good job to finish in 6th position. Not quite having the pace of his teammate Hulkenberg, but he got the car to the line, his best ever Formula 1 result, and that's good news for him.
Yeah, and a word on Palmer before we hear from him. Tom, do you think we will see him at Malaysia?
I think we will see him at Malaysia. I think the onus is on him, really, to move out the way and make way for Carlos Sainz. Of course, Renault trying to get Palmer out of the car, Palmer not willing to move. And quite frankly, he had a good race here, and he's fighting for his Formula 1 career now. So he needs the last 6 races to do some stellar performances. He's done one here, so why would you walk away now?
Let's hear from him.
Yeah, I'm so happy. It's such a tough race, obviously starting in the extreme wet and then 3 different types of tyre, a lot of big moments as well in there. Really fun race, actually. I really enjoyed driving. I think the car was good, and for once, a little bit of luck on my side, we managed to finish and get some points.
Jolyon, just describe your emotions right now. I mean, you're in the points, you're mixing it with the big boys and doing a great job.
Yeah, honestly, just happy. I'm so happy. Obviously, there's been a lot of bad times this year, a lot of tough times. But I feel the potential's been there to score points, and finally the race has actually come to us a little bit today. The weekend's panned out quite well, and yeah, I'm just so happy to get those points, and not just points, but a P6 in the end.
And how good is this car now, the Renault car? What can you do in these last 6 Grand Prix coming up?
Yeah, I think it's the 4th quickest car, to be honest. I think the next tracks will be even better for us. So this one is a pleasant surprise to be finishing 6th, especially in such a tough race with mixed conditions. But Malaysia, I scored point last year, so the car's getting better, I'm getting better, so we can aim for more points.
You go and cool down now. Great job, well done.
So very quickly, driver of the day, Jack.
Carlos Sainz.
Nice, interesting. Tom?
Not for Sebastian Vettel. Lewis Hamilton.
For me, I'll go Palmer. My thanks to Tom, to Jack and everybody. We will see you next time.
Sports with Sean Caravilles.